All right, I think we're up and running. Good morning. Today is July 27th, 2023. The time is now 9 a.m. I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners, and I will convene, I guess, this workshop. It is a financial quarterly budget review workshop. So if you would join me for the pledge and the invocation, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we come to you this morning and we just ask that as we come together and meet, that you would be with us. We ask for your direction. Give us your guidance in the things that we do and say here today. We just ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, audience introductions. Well, since we're not doing a roll call, I'll start here. I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. Go to you, Bill, if you want.
Custer County Commissioner.
There you go.
Tom Flower, Commissioner.
Braden Wilson, Director of Finance and HR.
What do you, Robert?
Robert Nappy, OEM Director.
J.C. Andy.
All around good guy from the airport.
All right, thank you all for being here. And I neglected to tell everyone earlier, if you do have cell phones, if you could make sure they're silenced, that would be great, please. And we have one thing on our agenda today, and that is to go over our quarterly budget review. So right now, turn this over to you, sir.
All right, thank you. So you all should have received an email with 12, I believe, documents on there. And so that's what we'll be going off of this morning. I'll give a quick summary here and kind of my thoughts, as well as and then we'll have departments that there was some things, the parameters that I used were right now. So at the half, we would be at 50% of budget versus actual expended or revenue in, and if all months were being equal. And so those departments that I did not necessarily know what the reason was for that being maybe 5%, 55% or more over in expenses, or 55% or 45% or under revenue, I've asked them to come in or give me some sort of explanation. So I'll give a quick summary and then we'll let them kind of share their piece on that. And hopefully this isn't meant to be contentious in any way. This is just supposed to be a chance to kind of understand what's going on within the department. And this is something as simple as a grant that we've expended for, but we haven't received the revenue for, or equipment purchase that we made that is a big chunk of money that would throw us out of whack. And so I don't think there's anything too out of the ordinary here. So first of all,
Can I ask a question first?
yeah,
When did you send that? I didn't pull it on the computer. What email?
the email. So the email was sent
What day?
The 26th. No, that's the wrong one.
25th.
Yesterday about 3 o'clock.
Yes, the 25th or yesterday?
25th at 4:06 p.m.
26th.
Titled Q2 Financial Review.
Okay, and then the other thing that I want to say too is to everybody. What he said is 100% right. So just to check where we are and how you're spending, and if there is somebody in trouble for some reason, there may be some emergency things, and you had to spend more money than you had, or you had less. And it's important for you all to be here to listen to, even though you're not, it's not up to in your time right now. to understand the needs of others so that we can have a discussion if we decide we need to move money from one bin to the other one legally that we can move. So that's why this is important. We've not done this in the past. Often we always used to wait till there was an issue, then we work the issues in real time, and then nobody understood where they stand. So that this is very good, and I think shouldn't take too long because from what I've seen, everybody's kind of spending what they thought they did, and then a few glitches here and there. Anyway, thanks for being here.
And thank you for your patience too. Like you said, this is the first time we've done it, and so we're trying to figure out what that format should look like and making sure that it's just easy for everybody. So again, apologize for the shorter notice and appreciate you doing it. All right, so real quick, the first document I'd like us to look at is the 0-0 all budget versus actual. And we can scroll to the bottom of the page there, and I'll just be a minute here. So if you're not able to find that, I'll just share what that shows. And that's across the board. Where's the county at right now? Revenue, we're at 59% of budget or actual versus budget, and 42% in expenditures. So we're over where we should be halfway through the year, all things being equal, and we're under where we should be on expenses. So overall, county's good. And you'll be able to see that that's the same case with the funds as well, except for funds like conservation trust fund, insurance fund, where we've had big expenditures that have thrown us over, but we knew those were coming, so no big deal there.
So if I may.
Yeah.
Braden. So being over or under on our revenue. To me is not a huge issue. I mean. All of us could be back to. A budgeting issue last fall. Or a year ago, last fall. So 59.17% just indicates that we've taken in more revenue than we thought we would at this date. This was all accurate as of the 25th, right?
And this is through the end.
June 30.
June, yeah. So June 30.
1st of July, okay.
Yeah.
So when I looked through all this stuff, I wasn't quite as in tune to our revenue side as I was our expenses. Now, does that make sense? Should we be paying more attention to revenue or not?
I think that's something that historically we've not looked at too much, but I would encourage us to be looking at as hard as the expenses go, because I think possible issues that could come up are grant money that's expended but never received, or reimbursement that's not received. And so I think to get the full picture of what's going on in the county, we need to be looking at both sides.
If the revenue was 20%, now this is used, so that means we've received 59.17%. If we had received 20%, obviously that's pretty red flaggy for me, right? And so we're really on the revenue side a little bit over. We should be at 50% to stay in track.
And we should be over at this point too, because of property taxes, for example, that being a large part of our revenue stream. And we're now at that point where everything is delinquent. Any more income coming in for property tax ad valorem would be delinquent at this point. So we should be higher at this time. And so I think that's something to keep in mind, is that 59, we're not saying we're at 59% of where we should be at this point. We're just saying that if we were to split up every month equally, then halfway through the year, we should be at 50%.
Which isn't really indicative of an action.
Right.
And at 50%, that doesn't mean that the next 50% is the same amount of money, because it's not. It's a percentage of the total. You know what I'm saying? See, if all the taxes are in, then what else is there left? It's some minor stuff. And so
Right.
50% of what we expected at this time makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really what this is probably telling us is that there's another 40% that's mainly grants and services rendered that we're expecting. Because property taxes would.
Are in,
Or what's that?
are they here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so. So that's really where I wanted to start and make sure that we're, that things are looking good overall, and then.
I guess that's one good thing to make everybody clear on. This total includes grants that we are expecting, right? That's what you just said.
Yeah, we budgeted grants as well.
Right.
All right, so I think with that, I'd like to go ahead and move to the departments, that way they can go about their day. And since JC was first in here, I'll ask him to come up, wherever you'd like.
Can we get a phone number?
What fund number
So
really?
the fund number is going to be 65. That is number 9 and number 10.
Okay. Number 9 and 10.
So this first part that we're looking at, JC, is sales, so revenue for airport fuel.
Okay.
And so right now, the question that came up was, we've only brought in 22% of what we budgeted for fuel sales. And so just any insight you might be able to lend the BOCC on that.
On that note, that's just pretty much, we're at the mercy of people flying in and buying fuel. We have the fuel in the tank. So, no. I guess, at the beginning of the year, fuel sales were a little slow. Now, here in the summer, it's picking up a little bit. So ours, for ours, fuel sales is usually, in the late spring through early fall, where we get the most fuel cells. And of course, the air fact that's coming up here next month. So that's basically the reason why it's that way. A little bell curve is usually the months of summer where we sell the most.
So we budgeted 41,300 in fuel sales, correct?
Yeah.
And we've taken in 9,300. Okay.
And yeah, the rest of the fuel is still in the tank.
There to make a buck on.
Yeah,
And you got a pretty good price on it, I think.
right.
on that.
And yeah, and we were lucky to get in a good buy before
Before
sales started. Before the fuel started going up. So I read Clyde Wright last month, we were the lowest in the area. So people start buying fuel from us.
Which I've mentioned this once before, and that's inventory on hand should have a value,
And,
but it doesn't show up here. See, it just shows an expense. What would you guess the value of your fuel on hand is now?
Let's see, we have 2,000, well, a little less than 2,000 gallons. So it's pretty good up there.
So 10 grand.
Yeah, or more.
in profit, you're getting about $1, aren't you, again?
I think it was 50 cents.
Thought you'd raise.
Yeah, 50 cents on a gallon.
So they have that, gonna be money made.
Mhm.
We're at $6.25 a gallon, $6.50 a gallon.
I know, I thought we were lower
Down,
than
down
Is
to
it
5.
5 and, yeah, 5 and change, yeah. Yeah, we were at 6 something,
Okay.
but, yeah.
Well, we'll just have to track this. That's exactly why we're doing this, right? So we get some feel. Are we gonna do the end of Q3 or just Q4?
Yeah, I think we would do the end of Q3, and that would be our last.
Before we go into the budget review, which will.
Maybe we have to look and say 41,000 is way too much to budget for fuel sale. Who knows?
Yeah, and I think that's part of it too, is
Yeah.
it's the new tank, and
Right.
we're still trying to figure
Right.
that out.
Yeah, last year it was 35 because we had the old fuel tank. So since we increased the capacity on the new one, we had budgeted for this year 41 so we could fill it. Now it'll level back out after the first fill.
Yeah, we'll really be able to tell here in a few months.
Right. Yeah, we'll get a better hack on by Q3, how the fuel cells went, and we'll still have the fuel in the new tank.
I think the thing that we're looking at with the airport in regards to fuel is there shouldn't be expenditures on fuel if we're not getting revenue in. So like that's the easy thing to be looking at. The nice thing is that
Yes,
if we don't sell it, we
bank.
still have it to be sold.
It's in the bank.
Yeah. Yeah,
So why is the $9,303 in brackets?
That's the way the report does it.
Because from my side of the table, that looks like there's that negative number, and that's just not the case.
Yeah, it's
So we can
not.
just disregard that.
That's how it shows revenue for some reason. Any more questions on that one?
Kind of crazy the way they do it.
Then the next one is gonna be the airport admin expenses.
yeah. All right,
That's fun.
on that one, it's airport admin,
10.
Yeah.
Documents.
with, yeah, we're running hot because of a couple of unexpected, bills with the, installation of the fuel tank. And basically, the biggest one were the Matthew Electric, money we had to spend on getting the fuel tank wired up and then rewired to meet the codes, yeah. And so those are our biggest hits. We had a hit on the John Deere tractor that, with, Custer County Road and Bridge. No, that was, took us a little bit over our budget on what we had budgeted for repairs and maintenance on that. And then, other than that, everything else is basically what we expected. You know, on our budget.
And I'm assuming what he just described came out of repairs and maintenance and they lost maintenance, correct?
Yes,
Off of his list, too bad.
yeah, we tried to put that into the mailing under the airport maintenance. And that drove us hot in that line. But overall, well, I think the last time I told it, we were like 60%. And the biggest expense we have coming is the Airfest. And we had budget for that, so, you know, we're trying to watch that budget and then everything for the, unless anything unexpected happens the rest of the year. We should be under our budgeted items that we had for the rest of the year.
It's a nice sign, by the way. Did that cost much?
The
Airfest sign,
Airfest,
really nice.
it cost a couple $100. No, but no, we had the budget.
Looks really good.
The
Yeah.
one on Main Street.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Post office.
Yeah, the Main Street, we
Cinder
had one
box.
out at the airport, no, too. And, but those were coming out.
Better than the paper flyers you had.
Yeah, the last year, right. And for that, we had $1,000 from, the, donation from the,
Tourism.
Tourism.
tourism board. And, no, that's what we were trying to,
That's good.
that's where we get, but that's where I'm gonna post those charges to, those $1,000 that we got donated. So, it's, our plans for the Airfest worked out the way we're planning, we should be pretty much on budget for that, and then, the rest of the year, it's pretty much, I expect, unless something big happens out, that we need to repair, do something like that.
And you don't charge admission to the Airfest,
No, we don't charge admission.
so it's not designed to be an income producer.
Right, we have a donation cup, so anything we get is, donations from the public.
And merchandise sales.
Yeah, and we do have merchandise sales that we purchase, and we plan to sell caps and patches.
And they have line items on the revenue side for that. How would they show that income?
Miscellaneous income.
Double check on that.
Yeah,
So you said your biggest expense, I'm gonna go back to the repairs and maintenance.
Okay,
You said the biggest thing that you had was the electrical.
yes,
And that's on the new tanks?
yes, that was for the new tank.
Okay, so that wouldn't have fallen into any of that grant
For the tank,
for that?
no. No, when we budgeted, this came, we budgeted for the tank, it was to purchase the tank. Everything else, we had to do on our side.
State only reimbursed for the
Yeah.
tank. I had to dig the electric themselves and they did.
Okay.
They had the budget to do. And volunteer stuff.
And volunteer work, right, we dug the ditches and, ran some wire, and then, we, put it in, and then, the inspectors came in and they wanted some additional work. So this was the additional one that we had, planned on.
Okay.
Those were the two biggies, and then with the tractor, we used the cut grass and maintain the facility with needed maintenance and, the biggest expense on the maintenance was 2 new tires for the front.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We had to put tires on the front, and that was the biggest expense out of the maintenance piece of it. The oil and all that, wasn't that much. That pretty much summarizes from our side, the admin, what's drove us over on the admin side. Everything else on the admin side is pretty much what we expect to spend on for each of the individual areas. Power, propane, internet, our regular monthly payment.
What was the maintenance on the AWAS? So you probably said it and I
It was,
missed.
it was 5,000 and change, and it was.
That was paid for by grant matched. 100%
$5,279 was the AWAS maintenance contract cost. But we get refunded that.
All of it.
Yeah, you haven't gotten that yet. though.
No,
The
I haven't seen
reimbursement.
it, so I'm not sure. No,
It got turned in late for some reason by them.
okay. All right,
We asked for it at the right time. It's
Okay.
good. It should be.
so, yeah, so that we get refund for, so, that's kind of should be, we just need to keep an eye on it, see what it comes in.
The revenue, we don't have a specific Airfest revenue line, we have donations and other revenue. How we're capturing that right now.
Okay.
And, hangar fees, some of the revenue is hangar fees, and, any donations we get, and then, the other piece we put in here is I guess there's a, fuel tax refund that we get when we buy fuel, and we just bought, load of fuel, so we'll get a little
Was
refund.
that earmarked in the general fund? Is that how you got it? How do you know? You said it's in another fund.
Which was.
We just said those miscellaneous revenue streams are not shown here. They're somewhere.
No, they're shown in the main document. I just showed the items or the departments of note, so. That their revenue side looks really good. Actually, they're at 107% of revenue for airport admin, which I think a lot of that goes to JC and to Moody, who are getting those lot leases figured out. That has been kind of a mess, and they've gotten it taken care of, and they've actually, it looks like, gotten a lot, if not all, of the leases in at this point, which is historically not been the case.
I think there's one outstanding.
Yeah.
Dan Green.
Yes, and there's still some coming, because we billed some folks and they paid us, so it's on our list of pays. And then we have some that as they come up on the month, we send them a bill. What we're trying to do is get them all current to the end of December. So all the leases are January 1st of next year. All of the leases will come due. And so we'll send out bills January 1st, and then we'll get it synced up instead of having by a month.
Yeah.
As we go down through the, so we have a few more coming.
So right now, you're just trying to get everybody current.
Yeah.
So that you can start billing again January 1 for the next 25 years.
Well, we'll go year by year, so we'll send,
Okay, but the lease contracts are 25 year,
yes.
and they pay it yearly.
And they pay you, on a yearly basis, so, yeah, and that's, for the rest of this year, as their month that comes up, we'll bill them through the end of the year. And,
They're rated out.
And we don't have a revenue doc here for the airport.
It would just be in that all budget versus
Okay.
actual. And I can show you where that's at.
And then all budget is part of the general fund, isn't it? I mean, that's,
None
there's
of this is part of the gen.
I know it's not, but I mean, it's categorized separately. I'm just wondering where it resides.
Yeah, it's all in set the fund 65.
Okay.
Airport fund.
yeah,
So So I wonder, do we know roughly how much revenue all the hangar leases generate every year?
Ludi has that number. I don't have it on mine. I just.
We have not known that until this year when they started working on this.
Yeah, they all are different sizes for
Yes.
different amounts, and then they were out, there were some that just didn't pay.
Right. Yeah, some of them had,
Some
started
deals
here
cut.
early. Their amounts really small. All of the new ones, we've gone current on.
Sure.
And at some point, we want to see if we can change that and bring it to a more current price. But for now, we're just trying to sync everybody up first
Right.
and then go from there.
And I think some of that was due, now that we have an airport manager, I think my suggestion is that resides over there. It was with planning and zoning.
Yeah, it's there now.
Prior to Dorothy being here, and that's where I think it.
Right. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know how much revenue is being generated annually off of those leases.
Yeah. Yeah, no, matter of fact, this year we'll know because we have a specific line item on our budget where all the lease payments are going on. So at the end of the year, we can just sum that up and say, hey, this is for the year. For this year, this is going to be collected.
Not only that, they get a pretty healthy commercial tax rate, which they, by law, they can't make it less.
Right, yeah.
So
on the-
it's the lease and the taxes that the
Right.
income for the county, I saw
Right.
both of them.
Yeah, all those guys pay taxes on the hangar itself, and then the leases for the land.
Right.
Any more questions for JC?
Good.
So, no, my main goal is to keep us within this box. So I'll keep watching us as we, keep earning money. At the end of the year.
They have to get more hamburgers, and get more
Yeah.
donations.
I was gonna say, we might have to, charge for our breakfast.
Yeah.
And now that we have the transfer. I think we're in a much better place because just make sure that we're in those lines.
Right, yeah, that's helping for us and you guys. We don't have to answer why we're running,
Running short.
short. Well, that helps.
And Lucy resigned, she's gone, huh?
No, she's
Well,
not.
We're trying to keep. So we'll see what we can do for her for that, because she's been doing, I think personally, she's been doing a pretty good job. Picking up all boxes and all the, data that was picked up from,
Planning and zoning.
yeah, planning and zoning, going through all that, figuring out who owes what and how they were paid, especially all the, there was some, arrangements made with previous owners that, was not documented, so we're trying to document that. And so she's having to deal with all of that and then, trying to get caught up on it, so. Yeah,
And brought you up to speed on the last stuff that caused her to have the concern that she wasn't doing her job. But had a nice talk with her last night.
you did, thank you.
And Brian too. So, and we're dealing with the issue. So
Okay, yeah, no. I guess you received the email, but I think there's just one person causing, a ruckus and for the rest of us, I think we're all in sync and, things are progressing well on that side. And
He's a
so,
hard worker and joy to work with.
yeah,
sure is.
yeah, and,
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for your work.
yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, JC, thank you.
You're welcome, guys. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, send them an email.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
You can stay or you can come back with some donuts,
yeah, well,
airport donuts.
yeah. Next time out.
Oh, yeah, next time.
Well, I gotta get some stuff done for Lisa, so if you guys have any more questions,
All right.
send me an email.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Jude.
Thanks, Jason.
Dorothy,
I,
And sit up here and we'll come there.
I don't care.
Feel more comfortable.
I'm not afraid that I'm going to.
You may not be able to see your, yeah, you are, you're under the light part.
So this is gonna be document 2, funds and expenses.
02.
Correct. And that'll be page 1 of that document. And so she's just barely over here. Not something that I'm concerned about, but wanted to give her opportunity to explain what might have caused that.
So the first line item is salary and what we need to do. Originally, we had planned to take the funds out of contract labor to cover the salary for Cheyenne, as well as any of the compliance salary that we paid out. So I talked to Lisa yesterday and we just need to, I guess, get approval to move those funds into that category. I am keeping an eye on it. The salary will go down when Cheyenne goes, ends her temporary position. So it should all even out at the end of the year.
Do we need to vote on that, or I don't think so, do we? That's your money.
You're gonna move it from where to where?
The contract labor
10,000.
over to salary. We were
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
just take it out of the contract labor, but we would have had to have her as a 1090.
1099.
99 employee. So our contract labor. And
Yeah, personally, I think that's.
That's her
Choice.
choice.
At least to figure that out.
That's right.
we will do it.
We already approved the money to be expended.
Right.
That's right.
And I will keep an eye on what we're doing on Fridays throughout the rest of the year. To make sure we stay within budget, but it should all even out.
So that's probably why it shows the way it does on this document then, right? Because it's showing zeros on contract labor
Right, yeah.
and you at 46% on salaries.
Yeah, so we could do a budget resolution, is technically what we need to do to change that. Which you guys would have to approve, but
But she's got it.
at the end of the day. Dorothy's held responsible for being within her budget. And so however that's actually allocated within her line items
That's up to her.
is really a non-issue. And that's one of those reasons why we have this, is to be able to explain, this is why that side's a little higher in the site.
So when we move that money, will we distribute some of it out to cover? So the next one's fringe benefits, which covers my insurance, and having Cheyenne on there kind of brought that over a little bit as well. So I don't, that and I'm going to jump down to insurance. Well, I don't need to cover that yet, but will that be distributed throughout there, or we're just looking at the bottom?
However we want to.
Okay.
do it.
So Cheyenne, is she a contract labor or is she a part-time
She's
employee?
part-time temporary employee.
And so that's why it's bumped up your salary line.
Correct.
Because you haven't been paying her out of that contract labor.
That's right.
And how long is she scheduled to work for?
She's gonna be here through the end, through August, I believe 19th. And then she'll be done.
And you're paying her on an hourly basis.
Correct.
And she does not get fringe benefits.
She does,
Yeah.
she doesn't get any insurance or anything like that, no. But what I understand is in there is like insurance that whatever goes to Social Security and Medicaid, that's what.
Deductions.
Yes. So that's a little bit higher than we had anticipated because of that.
Well, we're not opposed to cutting back some salaries to, get that back to.
We might have to look at that.
That'll work.
And so the 10,000 will cover her salary. We budgeted that correctly, you think, 10 grand?
It should be under that what should also be covered under there is the compliance
Both of
time that
those
we're doing on Friday.
be
Both
10
of
or
those
less.
should be,
will
yes,
Good shape there. Okay.
but I will keep an eye on that going forward.
And on the maintenance contract,
Which one are you looking
right under your contract labor line.
at? The
Because we had nothing in the
Supplies.
budget for that. What is
You're on page 2,
Where are you?
page 2 of 10?
page 1, that's building and ground. So
Oh, I thought you said page 2. My bad.
So the next, I guess the next thing I see on here, that's
Now I know
our
what the maintenance
budget,
contract is.
is communication. And I budgeted that down to the penny, which maybe I should have left myself a little cushion, lesson learned. What I didn't know would be added in there is the cost for Google Suites. So I'm being billed 2880 that just started this month from my understanding. So going forward, I'll make sure I give myself a little cushion, but that's probably going to continue to look like I'm way over budget as the year goes on, adding that in there every month.
It was only $900, right? You only budgeted 900,
I only budgeted it, not the 900.
so.
Yeah.
Not like we're 6 or 7,000 out of whack. And you're only 53%, so.
But it's gonna continue to go up because I
Yeah, that's
budgeted
great.
it to the penny.
Right.
So,
And we did, if I can interrupt real quick, we did that across the board. And so with the Google Suites being added, that line is gonna be over for.
Everybody's taking that hit, so it's not just you,
But
everybody.
you'll have to account for it
yeah,
next cycle.
maybe, yeah, absolutely. Lesson learned, give yourself a little cushion.
Sure.
The next one's insurance, and what I believe has made that look a little bit higher than it, quite a bit higher than it should be, is that before the admin assistant did not take health insurance, Delana has health insurance on a family plan. So that's gonna, I did not account for that.
So let me address something you just said, because said insurance, you thought you were quite a bit higher than it was. You're only 5.8% over what we would expect at this point on the calendar, correct?
Correct.
Wouldn't we think right now 50% would be on target? You're 5% over. I don't see any angst, 6% over. That's nothing to get too
Okay.
stressed out about. From my perspective, I don't know, Braden, if you want to add color to that, but
No, it's has to happen.
It's not an
You have
issue.
to offer that insurance.
Sure.
So, and the only thing I think to note there is that at Q3, it won't be 80.88%. It'll be higher because that percentage will keep growing a little bit more.
right.
So at the end of the year, she'll be under 12% or something like that.
Right. Which could be a budgeting error,
It absolutely was
right?
because we.
Something like this, we can't control that.
Right.
Right.
So it's just nothing to lose
Correct it
sleep over.
next
We just have to remember that when we come to budget time.
And that's a very little amount of dollars overall.
Yeah. The next one's data processing, and I'm at 100% there because that was iWork, and that is paid up front. So it just looks, there should be no more
I
expenses
was
in
gonna say you
there.
don't anticipate any more.
No, I was contemplating adding an expense to that, and I talked to Kevin about it, but I've since changed my mind. So I was gonna purchase some extra forms, but I've changed my mind in regards to that.
Well, shouldn't you have an IT line or a software line or something? Because she's got a suites thing she got paid for every year anyway.
That data process.
And that data process should
That's what we got for that,
for everything.
for everybody's department.
So is that where the $900 overrun is? She said she made a mistake.
No, that's under communication.
See, so wouldn't that, sounds like that was
And it
a
was,
software deal.
yeah. It was the
Yeah.
Google Suites. We didn't used to pay
But
for
just email, so it kind of, it's either side of it. We'll have to figure out.
Just figure out a way to
use that next year.
Yeah.
Let's see where we're at. The surcharge pass through, what that is, when we do our outs, so somebody comes
Right.
in, contractor comes in and pays $20, their part of their fee for their permit is a $20 fee to the state.
Right.
So that's a wash. We charge it and then it goes back to the state. We pay the state. We've been watching that very closely. I think we're over because of the number of septic permits being higher this year. So that's where we're at there, but it should all come out in the wash. The other one is my capital outlay, and the best that I can figure what falls into that. I didn't or wasn't aware that the service agreement or contract for the copier had gone up this year. So I just used what we had last year. Lesson learned. I think maybe we could work on communication there with IT or whoever signs those contracts so that I know what to add into my budget,
Mhm.
because I didn't know that. My other suggestion in that area is that copier, I pay for that entire copier. There's a lot of people that use that copier, and I don't have a problem with that. But maybe we need to look at, so that I know how to budget, maybe we need to look at putting codes on every copier, so if I come in and I'm doing 700
Who was
books,
it that last that ran all those copies? What department was that?
say that
They were
again,
colored copies that came in and ran on yours. What department was that?
it was OEM.
OEM, so they should have paid for that, absolutely.
It's, you know, it's fine to buy a ream of paper, which is what Adrian used to do. I mean, a ream of paper, but when you count the color copy, and then we get charged per copy. So,
Either it comes out of their budget or you account for it in yours.
Right.
Not just yours, and then you have to pay for everybody else.
and it,
Either way, it'll work.
Well,
right,
it's pretty hard to account for somebody else using your copier. She had no idea OEM was gonna come over
No,
there.
that's my point is, in front of the year, OEM should plan, I'm gonna make X copies, and we got a lot of that whatever, and that be the budget that they would give to you, or you budget that in your deal
Yeah.
for the good of everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah,
or we go to a code.
'cause
And I'm- and
either way, it
honestly-
has to be paid for by the county, so.
I understand. But I think if every department had their own code,
Right.
which would be easy to put in there, it would be budgeted back to, or billed back to that
Sure,
department.
sure.
And it's not just my copier, it's Kelly's copier as well, and probably JD's copier.
All of them.
How do we know what's going on? Or that's all
Darn
open.
commissioners come in and want a copy too.
You can put it online. You can, anyway, just a
Yeah.
suggestion, food
Yeah,
for thought.
it's bigger. I'm assuming those machines have that capability.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Absolutely. And then each department, say if whatever mine goes down and I go upstairs and use JD's, I can put my code in and.
Any other questions for Brenda?
Oh, you're right on the money.
One thing I did want to point out is her revenue is at 86% right now, so they're doing well, and a big chunk of that is county use tax, which was not captured before, is now 82, almost $83,000, so kudos to the planning and
Yeah.
zoning team on that.
That's huge. That's huge. Again, we didn't see the revenue page here, correct?
Right, not on that document.
Okay. All right, want to make sure I didn't scroll by it.
Scroll by, you go down to building.
Yeah, and then you get yelled at for.
For being on the next page.
Yeah. Well,
Trying to figure out what your maintenance contract was.
good explanation on your overages. Like you know exactly.
Trying to keep it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming over.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Thanks.
No, wait.
All right, next is gonna be Robin, and so that'll be document 8. 160 revenues.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? You look nice today.
Yeah, it's a little cooler today.
All refreshed.
You're back from travels, I see.
Back from travels and got a Rocky Fork cantaloupes.
Oh, yeah.
Did you bring back a truckload of the Rocky Fork? County?
Well, I have to tell you, if they were as cheap as they were one time when my mother and I went there, they were 25 cents.
Yeah. I don't imagine you got by with that this time.
$2.50.
Yeah.
And I promise I will pay my taxes when I get paid. About your revenue. I already told Virginia. Oh, I can pay those. So I'm in arrears or whatever they call that.
We just have the revenue sheet here.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, the expenses look good on your side, so it was just a chance to kind of go over some of these grants and maybe what's going on.
And I was trying to pull up a document in your opening statements. You probably told us that. You just included stuff that you thought we should look at. If
Right.
everything looks
Yeah.
fine, we didn't get that
Yeah.
document.
Right.
Okay.
we did.
You got the full document, so you could see
Yes,
everybody's,
but individual
Individuals.
files, okay, thanks.
If we want to start at the top, it says grant revenue, 5,426.92. And that was actually a 2022 reimbursement. So it came in the first quarter from the previous year. Okay, so that's a credit.
54,
That
26.
Yeah. And that, that we know what that was. It actually was Homeland Security. I don't know how I guess if it's not in the right year, it'll just be miscellaneous grant revenue. I'm not really sure how that works.
Yeah.
It doesn't make that much difference because it's old news, but
Mhm. And
the-
which grant was that? Do you know? Was that
Homeland Security,
Homeland
that was the
Security?
threat vest for the sheriff.
we probably should move that to under Homeland Security, because then it would all be in the same spot, because it's still,
Kind of a floater out there right now. It needs to be credited back there.
Well, it's in there, they got another line item under their Homeland Security.
Yeah, it's just a different grant, so maybe it needs to be Homeland Security Grant 2022
Well, you could have some
sub
parts.
accounts. Yeah. What do you think about that, Ray? Just sub account?
yeah, we need to, and I'll preface this too. I tried to work through this with Adrian last year and making it more intuitive and accounting system that matches what OEM is doing. And I think we've got a ways to go on that still, so it's gonna be just working together and figuring out how do we want to capture these, and do we try to capture, for example, Homeland Security grant, are we gonna have a different grant for every year? Or is it just Homeland Security and then we're able to search by that type of grant?
Mhm.
And because at some point we run out of grant numbers, so that becomes the constraint on the accounting side.
We don't have funds from that every year.
Okay,
And when we do get the funds from that, we have a 3-year period to spend it. So this is actually a 2020 grant. So again, that's probably more confusing.
Yeah, it didn't really matter. It just matters you're getting the revenue and it hits and see.
So the next one is probably why I am under on revenue. Our EMPG is a 50% match on the total budget of 105,000. And the 52,000 is what's budgeted for the 2023. And we did not do a first quarter reimbursement, partially because we were trying to work through all the uniqueness of the contract labor situation with the interim director. In that was not reimbursable. So trying to thresh through whether his salary was reimbursable or not. So that was definitely a unique hiring situation for contract labor, and that is not going to be reimbursable. So we'll be down just a little bit, even in that reimbursement during the first and second quarter. But we're scheduled to get both first and second quarter reimbursement done by next week.
Well, I wonder why they wouldn't reimburse salary on an interim director.
They will reimburse salary on interim director, and this had to do with the way that the person was hired, the way that the wages were taken out, the FICA and so forth, was put under contract labor and unable to change that back to salary. So it just,
Money's there, you just gotta.
it'll just come out of the budget and that won't be reimbursable.
Right.
It's about $6,000.
You've got the money.
$6,200, something like that. Yeah. So we will anticipate about $26,000 to $28,000 will come in for first and second quarter. That would be 50% of that 52,000.
Mhm.
The Homeland Security Grant, that is still to be seen. As you know, I have talked to each one of you about the angst of trying to get this spent on the correct category for Homeland Security. And so we don't need to go over that again, but I will continue to work on that. We will get that resolved by fall, since that's their deadline is to have it spent by fall, because we did get a waiver to get a little bit more time. And then the next one, EMPG Special Projects 50% match. We anticipate any day now we'll get the formal approval on the Special Projects Grant, which will need to be bumped up to the $20,000. That was approved by BOCC May when we applied for the grant to take that additional $10,000 matching. So I don't know how that works.
Good
That
question.
came out of our grant match dollars, right?
Going to, I guess.
Well, it's good, yeah, it'd probably be best just to keep it in the fund and there's fund balance to be able to use for that, so just.
That's what it should be.
And, but yes, so you'll be expending $40,000.
40,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll
So-
just do a budget resolution for that.
Yeah, so I'll probably be over. I mean, I have the same problem that
It has to move from a different fund than what you said.
No, it won't, yeah.
Why does it need a resolution?
In order to change the budget numbers from 10 to 20,000.
And the 40 is because this is 50% match.
Mhm.
20.
yeah, I think our total was about 39, so it should be around $9,000 more, not 10. We just had to make the numbers kind of work there at the last minute. We hope we'll get that approval here any day, so that's good. The hazard mitigation grant, I am not sure about this. And this is something I need to research. We got a hazard mitigation grant to write the hazard mitigation plan. And I think the total was around $38,000 to write the plan over several years. Our last payment was this quarter, third quarter. I think it posted third quarter, or maybe it posted in June. I'm not sure, but it's the last payment was $1,700. So the balance is the $18,750. So we no longer have a mitigation grant. Although we could use it for hazard mitigation, it won't be a 75% match. So I need to follow up on that and find out if we budgeted that, because my understanding was, even as Adrian was leaving, he was trying to get a wildfire preparedness CWPP contract written to write another plan. So I don't know if that was what that was for. So I'm not sure on that. So I will have to get back with you. That's the only one that's still kind of hanging out there. But we're doing grant closeout as of June 30th. So I'm not sure.
So we haven't received any of that 18,750.
And we probably won't, because most of the billing was done in 2022 and 2021. So I have a feeling we just had that in there as a standard for hazard mitigation, but I don't believe we have an award beyond the hazard mitigation, which we got done. So that's good.
It just goes away.
Probably. More than likely. So I'll get back with you on that. That's the only thing that I didn't quite have figured out.
Question,
Yeah.
Robin?
That changes our
Revenue.
figures by 18,000 on the revenue side though, that we were counting on when we did the expenditure side of that budget, correct?
Right, but we haven't
But
had
there's no
any
expenditure,
expenses.
let's say. So It's
Yeah.
not, it's just a placeholder. It was a guess, and I think we're gonna use it, but it never came.
The
So I'm
only
not gonna use
thing
it.
is on the expense side, we do have $25,000 budgeted for hazard mitigation. Which originally that was supposed to talk to each other, or you're supposed to look at those two things together, so. So if we drop that, it would be my assumption, we also drop.
Out of that.
The expenditure side,
Uh-huh.
sure.
You guys gotta go work that out.
Yeah, 'cause if you don't have the money coming in, it's not their expense.
Yeah.
That was my point.
And I have a couple of things like that. I have a $10,000 line item for if we get a response
Right,
that I don't spend.
right.
That's just there.
And
I'm guessing it carry
That
over,
is intended to be carried over.
carried over every year, just a
Slush fund in case you
Place.
needed it.
yeah, placeholder. So there, there's a couple of line items that are like that. The budget appears to be not only anticipated needs, but also areas where there might be more expenses like those responses. So,
Yeah, that was a one-time safety net thing that we threw some money in a pot. After an event that they didn't have any access to money to buy water, sandwiches, drinks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, those response costs. Now, there's also a fund that I think it's unrestricted. You tell me a little bit more. Is there additional funds that are required as a county to have in reserve?
Yeah.
There are,
There is,
Mhm.
not by department necessarily.
Right, but that's just in case there is a larger disaster and you have to pay the 25%.
well, if it's a very large, then we go into getting funds to, from the feds. But what we do is try to keep, there is by law, an amount we have to carry, so we don't spend in the red, period. Can't do it,
Yeah, and so,
but that's not a lot.
no, it's probably not a lot, but it's, percentage of your $6 million budget, I imagine. Even the feds though have a cost share.
Yeah.
So usually 12.5%.
Unless
State,
it's an absolute disaster like hurricane. Don't,
yeah, it's rare, although I have seen, working at the state level, that if you don't have the budget, some of the counties that didn't have those reserves or a lot in reserves, were able to negotiate with the state
That's
for less than their 12.5%. Because it's a 25%, all of those programs are 25% cost share at the federal level. And usually the state will pick up half, so, but even 12% of,
$3 or $4 million.
$3 or $4 million, yeah. So that's, it can get very expensive when you're looking at particularly infrastructure, as you know, that is not cheap. So,
Robin, maybe this, if you're able to help me out on this at some point, right now we have 118,000 in what's called a contingent fund,
mhm,
and that's what that's set aside
Mhm.
for.
right,
Would you have or be able to have some sort of recommendation as to what that fund to balance should be?
well, isn't it stipulation on a percentage?
he's
We
talking
do,
just
so-
within your group.
Actually, so we do
Oh.
have table reserves set aside within each
Okay.
fund, so that we
Okay.
do have a percentage set aside. for
Okay.
each fund, but this would
Right.
be act of God, emergency type situations. I don't need an answer right now.
Yeah.
But maybe something that it would be helpful, I think, coming from your department to say, a wildfire in the Sangres would be a X number amount. Thought, and this is what we would have to pay of that probably, so.
Yeah,
Just something so we can start.
Sure.
looking out of it for the-
well, and we're doing a disaster finance workshop
Right.
on August 14th, so we can ask Christie if she has, any other counties that have seen any kind of percentages or ranges for that. Really, it's the 12% cost share is what you worry about. And, it's something like the 2013 floods, I believe. You had flooding. So we could look at a past budget for that. I don't know if that was 2014 or 2015, but that was infrastructure. I think it was roads, bridge,
Right,
culverts,
right.
Yeah.
So that might give us a little budget idea. Of course, we didn't get hit like any of,
Right.
any of the northern counties.
It's gonna be so highly variable, it'll be a shot in the dark, yes, but. I think we ought to keep feeding that contingency fund in the general fund as well.
More is always better.
If it was $5,000 a year or whatever, it doesn't matter, but we haven't put any money in it since I've been a commissioner.
Well, I don't know how you would come up with the money. That I would have no idea.
Yeah,
How would you come up with the revenue?
well, yeah, some counties,
Taxpayers, when we have to,
Special assessment?
some counties started laying off employees.
It's transferred.
we can transfer it.
So, I mean, that's
But
something
what we
that,
can't do is bank a bunch of money, or we have, the taxes are supposed to do all the services, and we can't just start buying a savings account. Because you don't know. And that's why there is a emergency services processes if it's an act of God kind of thing.
Mhm. And that's something we should probably just practice is the whole declaration and financial authority and all that. So we'll put that in our exercise for probably 2024, just to go through that and see if we had, to pull in from anywhere besides that contingency fund.
Well, for me,
Come good.
I have a off of the record question. I gotta reach out to your assistant for some assistance on our LATCF grant.
Sure.
We've been notified that the second half of that funding, 487,000 is ready, but we have to go back in the portal and indicate that we're ready to accept.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll call her. Thank you. Didn't take a lot of time.
Yeah, I would just say call her soon, just because she's taking Monday off and just another little thing. I believe she had comp time. So if you could just verify.
Yeah.
That comp time, because
And she hadn't talked to me yet.
I will send her an email or a text and ask her if we can do
yeah, very good. I'll tell her. as well.
it. Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And she's at 26.8% for expenses, so that's.
Yeah, that looks pretty good. That.
Thanks.
Thank
Well,
you.
If you don't do anything, you're not spending any money.
It wasn't doing anything. 22 weeks and
Yeah.
2 plans. I think that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
Thanks,
Thanks.
kiddo.
Later.
Looks like
And last
Boy.
but certainly not least.
That's right.
The illustrious.
save the best for last.
All the way up, or can I sit here?
Sit
You
wherever
can go
you
wherever
want.
you want.
Can I
You
sit?
don't come up here. you
Yeah,
don't
go ahead.
shake
Got your
hands.
thing.
Oh.
You sit back there. you
Well, I
go-
didn't want to put my back to brave.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you go. You can do that.
That's okay.
So
Had a
where are we
chair.
at on this now? Rick?
So this
Fun.
now is going to be document 12, 11, let's start with 11. Fund 7 revenues. And I'll preface this to I think we're still trying to figure out
11.
revenues for DHS and how to capture those. So this is just the Department 33 showing 0.71% because LEAP isn't in there and in the state incentives isn't in there, but I don't know if you have anything to share on that.
No, I don't know. It's under leap outreach, which I'm not sure what that is. But I budgeted, is this just all about the revenue or is it about
This first part's just the revenue.
Okay,
And then the
So-
second part is just two specific areas that you wanted to ask in the expenses.
okay,
So you don't have an issue with your revenue, do you? Doesn't look like.
The revenue overall, DHS is fine.
Yeah.
Like Fund 70 is fine. It's just this specific department. Intergovernmental revenue. Which maybe we just budgeted. I'm not sure.
yeah, because LEAP is its own little
Line.
line and its own little monster, because we really, the only money. Because leave payments are totally, we don't budget money for that, we don't do anything. We do get an admin. Allocation. For the people who are working. Leap things. Leap outreach is a category that they have, that if we're gonna send out flyers or something to people about Leap, I can code it off to Leap outreach. I'm not sure why, but there again, I have an allocation for it. So if we did that, we would get money back. We have not billed anything to Leap outreach this year, so I think that's why the budget shows, and it shows we haven't used anything or whatever. So I think that's why that's there. And the state incentives 4D, that's another one. We get incentives from 4D if we do this and this and this and this. And we've got some, I see. Well, no, that's the budget. Yeah, we did.
Negative.
Yeah. And then the old age pension, that's. We budgeted for old age pension because if we do a home care allowance, the county has to kick in a percentage of that home care allowance. We don't have one right now. So, but try to budget for it in case we do have it. So. I don't know if that's why it's showing up like that or what. You got any ideas, Brain? No.
No, I think that's, on the other sides of things. One, that's a pretty small amount, all things considered. We're talking about $7,000 revenue in that line, in that department. The rest of her departments. We're at 54% for the other revenues that are coming in, which is right on, which is $170,000 out of 312,000. So. And then property taxes is also 89% of revenue. So it's not an issue. It's just more of trying to figure out what some of those are. What we need to.
What we need to do with that. Yeah, okay. And then on that next page, you had the
Next is that document 12, which is the expenses side. And this one specifically was between
well, it's
Medicaid transport
yeah,
and
CSVG,
yes,
yeah, community service block grant.
and those are pretty high right now. But I assume this is all on a usage basis for these types of things, and that's why it would be higher than not, or
Yeah, and then we get for the Medicaid transportation. We get it, people bring them in, we figure out what it is per month, then we send it off to be reimbursed. So. As of today, we have been reimbursed for everything that we have put in. So we haven't, so I don't know if they're not, if the revenues are being posted, I don't know. Then the same CSBG, anytime that I send in, the grant and I pay something, I send in for reimbursement, and I've gotten reimbursed for everything that we submitted. So I'm not,
And are those reimbursements posted to us or are they posted to the state?
they're posted to us. They're not posted to the state. CSBG is just, it's a block right now.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with the state. We pay it out, then we get reimbursed from UCOG. UCOG reimburses us.
Right. So. This page we're looking at, is this her total revenue picture for her department? And if it is, why aren't all of those reimbursements showing.
Well, we're actually looking at the expenditure page now on page 12 here.
This is hard.
Yeah,
Better.
we switched. from-
Okay, I was texting Jennifer, I missed it, sorry.
The better view might be, let's go ahead and go to that 0, all budget versus actual document. Then you're gonna go to page 59.
I should have just came and sat next to you.
Got 2 million.
Yeah, you got better. To do, so I'll let you move. Okay,
So page 59, everybody there.
Yes,
Mhm.
This is the full picture for
Okay.
Fund 70. That first part, you've got essentially just property taxes, which were great. Intergovernmental revenue, which we just talked about.
Mhm.
And then we've got the actual third department and how much money's come in as administration revenue.
Okay.
And so that's still, I think, where we're trying to better define. I think there's still a better way to do this to where we can show one for one that's, well. Let me back up for a second here. So this administration revenue really has to do with the actual administration, which is the next set of expenses. And so we can more clearly see that of the $206,000 that they've expended in the administration of the Department of Human Services, they've brought in $170,000 from the state to pay for that. So we're able to see that more clearly now.
Mhm.
Now, as we move down, the next thing that would be of note would be the Medicaid transportation on page 61. There's a revenue line and an expense line. So we've got medical transportation revenue of almost $10,000. Medicaid transportation expenses of almost 12,000, which I would say is timing. Is probably all that is. It seems to be hitting where it's supposed to. It's just, they probably made some expenses for that haven't been reimbursed yet.
that they haven't submitted to us yet. That would be my guess too.
And CSBG, the next set of lines, same thing.
Mhm.
But you're not expecting much more anyway, looks like. You pretty much spent.
So it'll probably be over this year, wouldn't you say? It's not like your busiest part of the year is January through July
The way we talk about,
for Medicaid.
Medicaid.
Transportation.
Medicaid transportation, we're busy all the time,
Okay.
absolutely all the time. And Virginia will call us when that expenditure, when we get that revenue in. She calls us and says, hey, I got a revenue for whatever. $5,000. Is that yours? And we can say, yeah, that's ours. Because we can tell, because we submit that to the state, and when it comes in, she calls us just to make sure that that's Medicaid transportation, and we've always had it just match up perfectly. So what we're paying out is being reimbursed dollar by dollar. So I don't know.
And what's CSBG?
Community Service Block Grant. And that one, people apply, it's, we use it for utilities and rent for people. And we have, it's very hard because it's a 3-year grant, but we get money all the time at different times. We never know when we're gonna get it or whatever. But I can track it because when she lets me know, you got some more money, so now you have this much left. And I submit a report to her every month, or reimbursement to her every month that I have an expenditure. And so then I just got one in, this one here, this 24-4508, that just came in yesterday. So I just got that one in. So, so those come in and, I can match up. This is what I spent, this is what and this is what I request them to pay, this is what they pay. So it always matches up.
Mhm. And that's DOLA out of Canyon does that.
Yeah, UConn does it.
Samantha Hughes.
Yeah.
Or not DOLA, sorry, you were calling.
UConn. And Samantha, yeah, she just came when we did our little audit thing. It's not an audit, what do you call it, but whatever. But anyhow, you know, she checked stuff out when she was here, we did that last month.
So that going here answered my question about where's all that revenue?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is more helpful to see it this way.
Bottom line though, is she's not hurting for anything, right?
You
No,
want to answer? I
No.
don't think you are.
no. I don't think I am either. So
So,
like, yes, I'm getting this and I'm like, okay.
Okay, you're good.
What the heck? But yeah, in Medicaid transportation, we get reimbursed. And we budget for it because we have to expend it and because we don't have, because the money has to be reimbursed. So we budget for it and we do the same for CSBG because we have to have a line item to take it out of and then we get reimbursed for it.
Sure.
Okay,
Makes sense.
Any other questions for Laura?
No.
No.
not from me.
Thanks for making the walk.
oh, it was my pleasure.
I see them today.
I know, and I won't be here on Wednesday. I'm out of town that day, so I know you guys are gonna miss me. But I will see you.
Party
on-
time.
Lucky toothache.
Yeah, yes. But I will see you on Monday because we have to pass, so you guys have to sign off my course services dollars. And I have to have that in, so as soon as you do that, I have to email it to them because that's the last thing. I do.
Saw that on the agenda.
Okay. Okay,
I'm just gonna comment. I think, I'm pretty sure we had you on the. agenda.
yeah, I checked with Kelly to make sure I was on the
I
agenda.
don't know about the document to sign, but
Yeah, it has to be signed, like they're saying if you approve.
she'll bring it with her.
Yeah, oh, yes. Yeah,
Thank you,
we
ma'am.
can review it. Okay.
Thank you very much.
See you guys later, Gator.
All right, we got 13 minutes approximately to get to this, so I'm just gonna kind of blast through that same document, the all budget versus actual. Let's go to page 3.
3, you say?
The one item of note there is the premium bid transfer under charges for services, so Department 34. We've got $25,000. I need to work with Virginia on what that is. We're still trying to figure out some of these transfers from fund to fund and some of those still aren't working correctly, but that's certainly one of note there.
You're talking about the transfer from the premium bid.
Yeah. Yeah, right now we haven't gotten anything in that. So working on that one, the next one is going to be. Page 11. Building and grounds. Currently, our expenses are a little bit over on that, we're at 66%. And part of that, one thing we're gonna have to do is a budget resolution for the maintenance contract. That in order to add that in there, so that's adding to that currently. And then. we're
Which page
actually-
you on? Right.
This is page 11 and 12. The nice thing is the sales of assets there helped our revenue on building and grounds. We weren't expecting those.
What'd we sell? Do you remember?
I don't know what.
Oh,
the
no,
gross
that wouldn't
is.
have come out of building and ground. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I'll check on that. So that's really the public utilities is a little high. Operating supplies is a little high. There's several of those there in communication. Those are kind of the 3 that are causing us to be over on expenses there. We'll need to look into what exactly is going on there and what utilities could just be inflation and we didn't quite budget right for that. And communications, I need to check with Vernon on that should be phones and such that were there. I've asked him about maybe some other things that we could be doing to save some money there. So we'll see what we're able to come up with. So that's one area of note. Next up is right below that, the recycling department. It's Department 4660. Page 13. And reasoning there for some of the discrepancy why we're at. Breaks it up a little funny here. Page 15 is the total expenditure, kind of halfway through the page, 89.2%. That really is just the LATCF money that hasn't been budgeted. And so that should clean us up on that side. Utilities are running a little high for recycling, which we weren't anticipating. So that's something we'll have to budget better next year. And then the repairs and maintenance for the baler is another issue that we're currently in talks, trying to get that one straightened out. So I think recycling's in a good spot. We just need to update the budget numbers there. Next up is control. So we start on page 18. And they're just barely over here. 56.56%. And I have an email here from Rich to read. He did say that when they did a budget estimate last year, he didn't realize that they didn't have any serviceable safety equipment, includes things like basic tools to help motorists up to less lethal flashbang and pepper spray grenades. They needed this in an arrest case that they had. That said they had to wait for Fremont SWAT to come out to use theirs. Safety equipment was one of the most over budget line items. And then vehicle maintenance being the other side of that. With the hourly fee for repairs from road and bridge being implemented, that wasn't included in the budget line. And they've had several breakdowns. And he's working on a replacement schedule, getting implemented to rotate vehicles out every 5 years to help with those maintenance repairs. So that's that one. Next up is public health.
You looking at the fund or you looking at the main budget?
Yeah, and that's gonna be
Page.
page. It's kind of lengthy here. Page 27. Kind of a third of the way down there, we've got the total revenue and total expenditures for public health. Right now, they're just over on expenditures, 57.78%. And then revenue's a little low. And I reached out for some information on that. Dr. Brown did respond a couple of times, though I didn't really get an answer as to why that was. It was, I'm happy to forward that email. In fact, I will do.
Well, he just said it was in the grant, wasn't it?
What's that?
He said it was attributed to something on the grant page for something, what I got out of all diatribe.
Yeah. One of the things that I suggested that this could be due to is just having expenses and the grant not having reimbursed them
Yeah,
yet.
just saying, so
But I wasn't able to get a clear answer on that, so I'll forward that email because I think there's certainly some things that he's maybe accused me of. I don't know if that's too strong a word that I want to make sure you guys are aware of. And
I don't think he understood what you were asking.
yeah, and I questioned.
I think he was thinking that you were getting after him for what he's only, whatever, $1,000, whatever his percent. I mean, he didn't understand what it was.
Yeah, so I'm not particularly concerned here because I think Rhonda's got a good handle on
She knows it.
the public health monies, but she's out on vacation right now. So
That explains it.
yeah, so I think we're in a good spot there. I think just the thing across the board in public health is one of the easy ones to talk about for this is just that grant revenue versus grant expenses and making sure that those equal out at the end of the day or make sense.
Mm,
So the OEM being the other one there, it's just ones that we want to keep an eye on as far as that goes.
Yeah, they can sure get away from us in a hurry.
Yeah.
If we don't. They don't keep good accounting of those grant dollars, mostly on the reimbursement side, on the revenue. I mean, they gotta.
make sure it's coming in.
So,
Yeah, because then all of a sudden we're stuck with expenses that we don't get revenue to reimburse.
Or people get fired.
The next section is Custer County Kids Council. I need to submit, I owe you guys I owe Stacy a budget resolution. I misunderstood when she sent in her budget and actually doubled everything. So she was showing both sides of it, and I thought it was just one side of it, and so it ended up doubling her entire budget. So that's why things look a little weird there, but I'll get a budget resolution drawn up for that to clean it up, and that will look more normal after that. Page 30, pest and weed control is high, but that's because we pay that contract up front. So that's why it's at 100.44% right now. Then useful public service on that same page, you'll see that the revenue is a little low. And I did get an email back from Christina on that, asking, she just asked what that looked like. We're talking about $4,000 here, so it's a small amount, but that's not something that she has budgeted previously. That's something that the finance department has put a number placeholder in there. And she also mentioned that it's just a slow year. So it's one of those that we can't really foresee exactly how many people are going to be coming through for probation, things like that.
we'll go back to noxious weeds.
Yeah.
Got that, huh?
Mhm.
So we will be getting grant revenue. We didn't budget for it because we didn't know that.
Okay.
I think it's 25 grand. Portion of grant.
Okay.
We've been awarded the money. It's a reimbursable grant as well. So do we need to do a budget resolution on that?
Probably really
Okay.
good. 25 grand.
I believe so. I can look it up to make sure.
Is it here already?
No, it's a reimbursable. We've been awarded a
Oh.
grant. We won't see those expenses until late summer, early fall, when people turn in their reimbursement request for weed spraying.
Right, as we keep moving down here, we're almost there. Road and bridge is gonna be the next one, and that starts on page 45 rather. Red and rose. down on, so the revenue is good, everything's fine there. There is an expense on page 37. Their administration is at 162% right now. And it looks to me like we didn't budget insurance for that. That would be the big chunk there. I'm not sure how well, in fact, we didn't budget salaries, fringe, or insurance there.
Yeah, that's weird.
So I don't know how that.
Where is that? I
goes.
don't see. Where you,
Page
On
37.
page
yeah, I'm on
37.
37.
Who's that salary for?
Well, and that might be where this is an issue is
Yeah,
that salary should probably be for Sherry. And I think that's the extent of it, but that's not even enough. Well, that would be enough for 50%. So I think there was just a budgeting error there. I'll have to look into it and get that.
And why would not the supervisor and the assistant supervisor also be considered administration for salary?
They could be, it's just, I think what may have happened here is we had them all in the maintenance section before, and then we might have
Where are their
started to
salaries?
change that. The total salaries is on page 36. That's where that's actually taking place.
44%.
okay, so my question there is, he's 3 people undermanned and not fully staffed, so. Is that why they're 43%?
It certainly would help on that. Yeah.
Is he doing all the work with 3 less people in this? Got it,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be underrunning that.
And again, I don't know. Fully staffed, I think is a relative term because we've never actually said how many fully staffed. road
He told me
bridge.
19. And he's got 16 somewhere.
Okay,
He's got vacancies that he can't fill.
yeah, well, and I'm not sure,
And that's what he budgeted this for, he told me.
yeah, we didn't budget any extra people in there. And I know as we've talked that he had decided he wasn't going to replace certain people in order to help with the budget.
But do you know what that number was really based on? Or do you have
This
that?
particular, the salary number,
No, the one, yeah, for the full budget
yeah, that was based on who was working here
at that
at
time,
that time.
so.
Yeah. So again, it's an issue because we don't have that number for every department as far as what fully staffed actually
Yeah,
means, or that's agreed upon between you.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
departments.
that's a management decision. Anybody can say, I need 20 people. Well, guess what? I don't fund you for 20 people. Don't matter how many you
it
think.
just depends.
This is what we can afford.
That's what I'm asking. What did he budget for? What was that
Budgeted
number?
840.
Well, I know, but that was based on what he projected number of people and what their salaries then.
And he said, because he thought his budget was gonna be stretched, right, that he didn't budget for another 3 people.
I don't know.
That was his choice when we looked at the budget.
He just told me he was not fully manned, so I don't know what that means.
Yeah, and we had budgeted for 19.
See, there you go. So, budgeted for 19, we've only got 16. He's trying to fill them,
So that
That's-
is 70. was
so it's gonna-
reflective of 19.
right? That's right.
So his salary line should be healthy there.
That's right. It's my point. And our point is we need to get him manned up because he's,
Or a new
Nice.
strategy, because as I mentioned before, I suspect Road and Bridge Fund will be bankrupt in 2 years. So we've got to get that figured out. No lack of urgency kind now. We need to figure out a strategy on how we're going to make sure that that doesn't happen. And that strategy could be as simple as the general fund starts forking over hundreds of thousands to Road and Bridge to make it work, but
if that's what we have to do.
with there needs to be a strategy.
And that's what we need to talk about.
We're over time, as you know. What else we got?
Quick few things here, would be Fund 50. And that's gonna be page 44. Grant revenue is a little low for all the different grants that we said we'd be getting in for capital improvement. So that's something we probably need to discuss in a little bit more detail another time. The expense side that are of note is landfill. They bought their piece of equipment. And so it came in at something like 74.5%. And but that's the only thing that's, I believe that's the only thing Brian was talking about, since they did get a deal on that they might be looking at some other equipment, but that's why that's high for this time of year, because it's that one purchase. Veterans Service Officer truck was also purchased, and that was just a little bit over what we budgeted. And lastly, it's tourism, and that was that's because they had the past and present. For the county. So that's why the tourism fund is a little bit high on the expense side. So and that's all I have. Those were the only departments of note.
Good.
I've got some overarching questions, but we'll have to wait, because I think we want to stay on track here, and we'll be behind, so. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's worth doing.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to keep a pulse on what's happening.
What's gonna help the budget cycle, when we do it.
Yeah.
Period.
Great, thank you all.
Okay, thank you. We'll adjourn this workshop at 10:38 a.m. Do we